Picture an archipelago of over 7,000 islands, where chaotic megacities collide with serene rice terraces and postcard-perfect beaches. This is the Philippines, a nation where the economy, like its wild beauty, is a thrilling patchwork of extremes and unexpected turns. You ever look around and think, wait, how the hell are we still functioning? Yeah, same. The traffic is biblical, the rent's apocalyptic, and half the people grinding 12-hour shifts are still eating instant noodles for dinner. But somehow, the Philippines just clocked in as Southeast Asia's fastest-growing economy in 2023. Let that sit for a second. We've got brownouts, floods, and politicians treating press cons like talent shows, and still, we're outgrowing countries with functioning trains and fewer karaoke machines. From 2010 to 2024, we averaged 5.26% GDP growth. That's not a typo, that's the economic version of a beat-up tricycle lapping sports cars on the freeway. We even overtook Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam in some years. You know, countries people used to compare us to right before giving up on us entirely? Yeah, those ones. Now, before you start popping the champagne, hold up. Because here's the part that stings. Growth doesn't mean progress for everyone. Sure, the GDP's flirting with $500 billion as of 2025. But when 115 million people are sharing that pie, and most of them are under 30, guess what? It's not a feast. It's crumbs dressed in optimism. We're a nation of potential stuck in a loading screen. Young, talented, hungry, but weighed down by generational debt, low wages, and the kind of bureaucracy that could make a monk scream. It's like watching a sprinter tied to a fridge. Powerful legs, zero chance of finishing clean. If we're growing this fast, why does it still feel like we're broke? Hold that thought. We're getting there. Because the economy isn't just numbers. It's the unpaid intern who can code better than his boss. It's the OFW wiring money to a family that still has brownouts twice a week. It's the graduate with Latin honors, now selling skincare online just to afford Jollibee. This isn't just growing pains. This is economic dissociation, where the country looks richer on paper, but somehow, your wallet missed the memo. But here's the twist. We're still in the game. Despite the chaos, the youth, the grit, the side hustles, the sheer audacity of Filipinos to keep moving, that's the real GDP. Grit. Determination. Pulse. And maybe, just maybe, if we stop pretending everything's fine and start asking better questions, we might just grow into a country where success isn't something you have to leave to find. So yeah, the numbers look good. But we're not just chasing stats. We're chasing a life that doesn't require survival mode 24/7. And if that hits a little too hard, good. That means you're finally paying attention. So if we're growing so fast, why does it still feel like you're trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon? Glad you asked. Because welcome to the part of the economy they don't show in glossy GDP charts, the part where the richest 1% own more than the bottom 70% combined. Yeah, you heard that right. 1%. 70%. Do the math, or don't, it already hurts. You ever walk around Metro Manila and feel like you're switching TV channels in real life? One moment you're inside a luxury mall that smells like imported leather and air conditioning set to Arctic, and 5 steps later you're in a wet market where someone's selling grilled intestines just to make 400 pesos a day. That's not vibrancy. That's economic whiplash. Here's the brutal truth. The average Filipino output is still well below the global standard, and not because we're lazy, unskilled, or lacking in hustle. God knows we've got more side gigs than we have hobbies. It's because the game is rigged. And the dice? Loaded by the very people telling you to just work harder. Let me put it this way. Imagine being in a group project where one guy shows up late, does nothing, and somehow walks away with a diploma, and the family business. Meanwhile, you're the one doing all the slides, writing the report, and bribing the printer to work. That's our economy. And here's your curiosity loop. What happens when a country gets rich, but only for the people who are already rich? Spoiler, nothing good. It breeds resentment, frustration, and the quiet soul-crushing realization that making it isn't just about effort, it's about access. You think everyone's just naturally bad with money? Nah. You can't budget better when you're starting with nothing. You can't invest in stocks when your emergency fund is 2 instant coffees and a 20 peso coin. But here's the kicker, we're not poor in resources. We're rich in the wrong hands. This archipelago is sitting on gold, copper, natural gas, fertile land, and the hardest working people you'll ever meet. But we treat our national wealth like a toxic ex, always around, but never giving us anything back. You know what we really lack? Distribution. Transparency, accountability, and the courage to admit that our success stories are often built on the backs of those too tired to complain anymore. So next time someone says, we're on the rise, ask them, who's we? Because if it's only the CEOs, the cronies, and the condos that got richer, while you're still deciding between paying bills or buying dinner, then no, we didn't rise. We got climbed on. And until we stop mistaking mall openings for economic miracles, we'll keep mistaking survival for progress. So yeah, the numbers look sexy. But the street-level story? It's still waiting for a plot twist. And maybe, just maybe, That twist begins when we stop treating inequality like background noise, and start treating it like the fire alarm that it is. Tick-tock. Alright. So the wealth gap is wider than the Pasig River, and smells about the same. But let's go deeper. Because here's the twist, even if money rained from the sky, half the country wouldn't have the roads, bridges, or ferries to reach it. Welcome to the Philippines, where we've got 7,641 islands, and about 6 ways to get between them. Let's just be real, our geography is a logistical migraine. A beautiful one, sure, with crystal blue waters and powdery beaches, but try sending a shipment of rice from Mindoro to Cebu and tell me if your wallet doesn't scream louder than your supplier. Here's a stat to chew on, it's often cheaper to ship goods from Manila to Hong Kong than from Manila to Davao. Yeah. International shipping is sometimes more affordable than just moving things within our own damn borders. Let that marinate. So when prices skyrocket in rural provinces, it's not always greed. Sometimes it's just fuel, ferry fees, and a guy named Kuya Jun charging hazard pay for crossing a rickety bridge that should have been replaced when Nokia still made phones. You ever wonder why everything feels so crowded in Manila? Why the traffic moves slower than your 2008 PC? It's because we've crammed millions of people into a city built for, well, less. Urban density isn't just inconvenient, it's a consequence of disconnection. When other regions feel abandoned, where do you think people will go? Exactly. To the only place with working Wi-Fi and job listings that aren't scams. But here's the kicker, even when money is available for infrastructure, it doesn't always reach the finish line. Or it reaches, but it's late, bloated, or mysteriously rerouted into someone's 5th SUV. So yeah, it's not just that we're poor in development. We're poorly developed. We're a country built like a puzzle, but we keep trying to solve it with duct tape and press releases. And here's the curiosity loop. What if our biggest national flaw isn't poverty, but fragmentation? Fragmented islands. Fragmented systems. Fragmented priorities. We don't need just more roads. We need roads that go somewhere. We need ports that don't charge like airports. And we need leaders who stop pretending that progress means building another overpass in the same damn city, while half the nation still rides hable through mud. Because until then, we'll keep spinning in circles. Beautiful, tropical, disconnected circles. And the real tragedy? It's not that we're behind. It's that we know where the future is, and we still can't reach it. Not because we're lazy, but because there's literally no road there. So we've got thousands of islands, some world-class sunsets, and a shipping bill that could bankrupt a small country. Cool. But let's zoom out. Because despite the chaos, the Philippines is parked in one of the most powerful neighborhoods on the planet. Think of it like being the house on the corner lot between 3 billionaires, China, Japan, and the US Pacific. We're not just a country, we're prime real estate. Now, here comes the kicker. We're ranked 13th on the FDI Confidence Index, Foreign Direct Investment, for the non-nerds. Translation? Big players are literally lining up to do business here. Why? Because while we may struggle to fix potholes in the provinces, our location is basically the economic version of beachfront property in Malibu. Trade routes slice through us like butter. Cargo ships pass by like clockwork. We're a maritime shortcut in a world obsessed with time and profit. And with tensions rising between global powers, strategic has become sexy. Even Uncle Sam, who's been our sometimes too involved friend since 1898, is still hanging around. Not because of adobo, but because we're a chess piece they can't afford to lose. That long-standing US relationship isn't just history, it's leverage. Military, economic, diplomatic, it's all still very much in play. But here's where it stings. Location means nothing if you don't know how to use it. We've got the address everyone wants, but it's like inviting billionaires to your Airbnb and handing them the keys to a broken elevator. You ever wonder why other countries with less sunshine and smaller populations are global powerhouses? It's not because they're prettier. It's because they don't just sit on value, they sell it, scale it, and secure it. Meanwhile, we keep debating whether foreign investors should be allowed in. As if they're breaking in through the window instead of knocking politely with bags of money. Here's the truth nobody says out loud. We're not lacking opportunities, we're allergic to commitment. We want the benefits of globalization without giving up our comfort zones. We want foreign capital, but not foreign control. We want progress, but fear change. We're like that friend who keeps saying, "This is my year," but still ghosts job interviews and blames Mercury retrograde. And here's your curiosity loop. What if the Philippines isn't underdeveloped, it's just underleveraged? The potential is screaming. We've got talent, we've got trade routes, we've got tech-literate youth, and yes, we've got TikTok stars who could probably broker deals better than half our officials. But unless we clean the house, fix the elevator, and act like we actually want company, we're just sitting on gold with our eyes closed. Location gave us the map. But it's up to us to draw the route. So the question is, are we ready to move? Or are we just waiting for another empire to build the road for us, again? Because history already taught us what happens when you let guests redecorate your house. So we're sitting at the crossroads of billion-dollar trade routes, hosting global powers like awkward dinner guests. And now comes the question nobody really asks out loud. Are we partners with the US or just the house they never stopped renting? Let's not kid ourselves. The US-Philippine relationship is older than your Lola's telenovelas. It's been going since 1898, that's when they liberated us and then forgot to leave. Now before you flinch, here's the twist. That very same relationship, the one we love to side-eye, is also one of our biggest safety nets and piggy banks. Real talk. We've had a mutual defense treaty since 1951. There are 9,000 US troops doing joint drills right now, because apparently, your cousin's barangay tanod can't exactly stop China. And in 2024, the US still bought 16.6% of all our exports. Yup, that's your bananas, semiconductors, and probably your aunt's online soap order. And now plot twist. Here comes the Luzon Economic Corridor. US and Japan are tag-teaming to develop supply chains and infrastructure here. Think roads, rails, ports. Basically, they're helping renovate the house they've been squatting in for over a century. This relationship is like having a rich ex who keeps showing up with groceries and fixing your sink, but also checks your messages while you sleep. We like the help. We need the help. But we never know if it's help or surveillance. And you ever wonder why we've never fully broken away? Because deep down, we know what comes with distance, self-reliance, accountability, and zero financial aid. Ouch. But here's where it gets uncomfortably true. We keep asking for independence while secretly relying on someone else's wallet. We say we want sovereignty, but we flinch every time Uncle Sam steps back. It's not betrayal. It's codependency with a flag on it. So now the question isn't whether we're still in bed with America. It's, do we finally learn how to stand alone? Or are we okay being the favorite cousin who never moved out, but always has Wi-Fi and free security? Either way, it's time we stop pretending this relationship is simple. Because it's not. It's complicated, it's strategic, it's historical. And yeah, it's still paying the rent. Let's talk about something no one wants to admit at family reunions, but everyone gossips about after 3 glasses of Red Horse. The foal. We could have been Singapore, but we tripped over our own ego era. Because here's the soul-punching truth. The Philippines was once the pride of Asia. In the 1950s, we were second only to Japan. Not second to last. Not second in karaoke. Second richest. In the entire continent. Let that sting a second. Because now look around. And before you roll your eyes and say, that's the past, here's the question that should keep us all up at night. What the hell happened? Here's the part nobody with a barong and a vague smile wants to say out loud. We didn't get robbed. We handed over the keys. Enter the Marcos dictatorship. The 1970s through the 80s were less of a political era and more of a masterclass in how to tank a nation while still smiling for the camera. Corruption didn't just trickle down, it rained like a busted fire hydrant. Billions were borrowed, stolen, hidden in Swiss accounts, and used to buy shoes, palaces, and pretend patriotism. Meanwhile, the rest of Asia, South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, they saw the manufacturing boom and sprinted. We took a nap. A long, expensive nap while everyone else built empires. It's like showing up to a potluck and forgetting to cook, then getting mad no one complimented your empty plate. But here's where it really burns. We missed the Asian tiger miracle, not because we weren't smart enough, but because the system was too busy feeding itself. Greed isn't just ugly. It's a nation killer. And yeah, the 1986 People Power Revolution happened. We stood up, we screamed, we kicked out a dictator with rosaries and radio stations. It was beautiful. It was brave. But let's not kid ourselves. That wasn't the ending. That was just us finally waking up with a hangover, staring at the damage, and asking, what now? And we've been playing catch-up ever since. Still hustling, still hoping, still haunted by what we could have been. You ever wonder why so many OFWs cry at airports? It's not just homesickness. It's the silent grief of knowing they left a country that once had everything, and watched it burn from the inside. Now here's the part no influencer will tell you. Progress? It's not a comeback story. It's a rebuild from the ruins kind of story. A we finally learned our lesson kind of grit. But only if we stop romanticizing the past and start demanding accountability from the present. So ask yourself, are we building a future, or just patching holes in a boat that sank 40 years ago? Because history isn't just a lesson. It's a mirror. And right now, it's begging us to stop pretending we still look like winners. Let's stop pretending we don't know someone who's cried at an airport, not because they're scared to leave, but because they had to. You think that's freedom? That's survival dressed up in a barong and duty-free perfume. Because after decades of economic fumble and political karaoke, the Philippines did what any heartbroken country does after years of being ignored. It outsourced its own people. Here's a stat that should slap you awake. Over 10 million Filipinos now work abroad, sending home a whopping $36 billion a year. That's 8.9% of our entire GDP. Not small change. That's we can't function without you money. You ever wonder why malls are still packed while factories stay empty? We export labor, not goods. Our most valuable export is not electronics, not bananas, not semiconductors. It's people. Let that sink in. Our growth is built on the backs of people we said goodbye to at NAIA. While countries like Vietnam and Malaysia were building their industrial muscles, we flexed our emotional endurance. They built factories. We built balikbayan boxes. That's the contrast. They scaled up manufacturing. We scaled up Skype calls, remittance centers, and broken family dinners. And yet, here's the irony that bites. All that cash flowing in, it fuels our economy more than any local business strategy ever has. Remittances, domestic consumption, services. That's the three-legged stool holding up the whole thing. But here's the punch-in-the-gut part no one dares admit at the podium. We're not thriving. We're treading water, while hoping the next generation knows how to swim. We don't have an economic engine. We have a lifeboat, and it's full of parents sacrificing birthdays, nurses cleaning other people's messes, and engineers building cities they'll never call home. Ever ask yourself, why are the best Filipino workers never in the Philippines? Now don't get it twisted, OFWs are heroes. But when a nation relies on its heroes just to stay afloat, that's not resilience. That's dependence. It's like clapping for a nurse who works 3 jobs instead of asking why she needs to in the first place. So yeah, applause is nice. But systems that work? Now that would be revolutionary. Because a country that survives on goodbyes isn't progressing, it's postponing collapse with smiles and dollar signs. So after exporting people, guess what we did next? We exported voices. Not people this time. Just their English. Their accents. Their midnight sanity. You ever wonder why half the Philippines sounds like they're auditioning for a Netflix series in Cincinnati at 3 a.m.? Welcome to the $30 billion call center industry. Yes, billion, with a B for barely sleeping but still hitting KPIs. 1.5 million Filipinos directly employed. Another 4.5 million indirectly riding the wave. From customer service to animated dragons, AI tagging to remote healthcare support, we're basically the invisible backend of the global economy. Think about that. While the rest of the world scrolls mindlessly on apps and complains about wait times, Filipinos are quietly making that experience possible. From cubicles, basements, and tiny condo units lit by fluorescent despair. Let's not sugarcoat it. The BPO boom? It's not just jobs, it's the national therapy session we didn't know we signed up for. We couldn't build factories, but by God, we can handle your insurance claims in perfect American English, with empathy, urgency, and just a sprinkle of soul erosion. That's the trade-off. Instead of steel and silicon, we sold clarity, compassion, and cultural neutrality. All while pretending not to hear our neighbor's dog barking through the headset. Now here's the twist you weren't ready for. That neutral English we joke about? It's our secret weapon. Our edge. Our superpower. The kind that quietly pulls in billions without needing a parade. While India ramped up tech and China mass-produced half your Amazon cart, we fine-tuned the art of saying, I completely understand your frustration, sir, without rolling our eyes. And no, it's not just calls anymore. It's healthcare analytics. Game development. 3D animation. AI training. We're not just talking to the world, we're now building parts of it too. But let's be real. Just because we're winning in services doesn't mean we should settle for always being the help. You ever think about that? The same brilliance it takes to manage 10 furious customers while navigating 6 dashboards could probably run a company. But we stay outsourced, undervalued, and caffeine-dependent. Here's the slap-in-the-face truth. We became a people-based economy because we had no choice. But now we've built an empire of whispers, keyboards, and digital labor that no one saw coming. The world doesn't see us, but they hear us. Every day. In every app. On every service line. And maybe, just maybe, it's time we started listening to ourselves too. Because if we can run the world's operations in our pajamas, what else are we capable of if we actually invested in ourselves? Stick around. It gets even crazier. So here's the million-dollar question nobody wants to answer out loud. What happens when a country builds its entire economy on people? And then those people leave. We turned voices into dollars, turned service jobs into lifelines, and just when it started paying off, the smartest ones packed up, boarded a flight, and never looked back. Let's not pretend we don't get it. You study for 4 years, burn your 20s chasing experience, and then what? You end up stuck in a cubicle explaining how to reset someone's router for the 3rd time this hour, while your college seatmate is now earning 6 figures in Dubai. Brain drain isn't a theory. It's a leak so big, you can hear it gurgle. And while we celebrate call centers and remittances like they're gold medals, here's a stat that stings harder than your 15th coffee-fueled night shift. 0. That's how many Filipino companies made it to the Fortune Global 500 list. Not one. Not a struggling 487th place with an asterisk. Just nothing. You ever wonder why your genius classmate who built an AI project in college now does virtual assistant work for someone's Etsy shop? Because here, we don't build industries. We build escape plans. Young professionals aren't chasing innovation, they're chasing stability. Not because they're lazy. Because why would you play a game you've already seen is rigged? Manufacturing? Science? Tech R&D? Please. That's for countries that invest in vision. Here, if it doesn't involve an air-conditioned office, a headset, and health insurance, it's a no. We've created a culture that trains talent only to gift wrap it and export it abroad. A whole nation of walking, talking skill sets, optimized not for national growth, but foreign contribution. And the longer we act like that's fine, the more we normalize being the sidekick in our own movie. Not the inventor. Not the innovator. Just the assistant. You want brutal? Here it is. We don't have a brain shortage. We have a brain exodus. And the worst part? We're proud of it. We post airport selfies like medals. We throw goodbye parties like promotions. We call it success. But what do we call what's left behind? Yeah, exactly. The next segment's gonna sting even more, because we're about to talk about the things we could have built if we hadn't outsourced our future. So here's the kicker: after all that brain drain we just unpacked, even without our brightest minds, the economy still looks alive. How? Because we've built an entire nation on shopping bags and soft serve. Yep. We don't manufacture much, but we do know how to swipe a debit card like it's a national sport. It's no accident. The average Filipino? Just 25.7 years old. That's not just young, that's TikTok influencer young. Add that to over 230 malls across the country, and you've got an economy that runs on Jollibee receipts and add-to-cart dopamine hits. You ever wonder why we bounce back so fast from global crises? 2008? Global recession? The world was collapsing. We were lining up at the mango sale. We don't flinch. We just shop. But here's the part nobody puts in the mall commercials. That resilience comes with a $5 billion trade deficit every year. Translation: we're great at spending on things we didn't make. It's like throwing a massive party with money you borrowed, in a house you're still renting, while streaming Spotify on someone else's premium plan. Fun? Sure. Sustainable? Not even close. See, a consumption-driven economy looks great on paper. It means activity, movement, smiling cashiers. But underneath it, we're not building wealth. We're just recycling paychecks. And guess what happens when an economy runs purely on spending, not producing? We become professional customers in a global marketplace. Loyal, addicted, powerless. Like toddlers in a candy store with someone else's credit card. We treat malls like temples. Weekends aren't for rest, they're for consumption therapy. Feeling sad? Go to the mall. Feeling broke? Still go to the mall. It's cheaper than a therapist and brighter than your future. Here's the brutal irony. We export people, import products, and celebrate GDP like we're winning. But behind the gloss and the aircon, we've built an economy that depends on you spending money you haven't earned yet, on products we didn't make, inside buildings we don't own. And if that didn't make you squirm a little, wait till you see who's actually profiting from all that foot traffic. Because next, we're peeling back the velvet curtain on foreign ownership, corporate monopolies, and why Filipino pride is mostly just good branding. So let's recap real quick. We've drained our brains, built malls like monuments, and celebrated resilience by racking up debt like it's a badge of honor. And just when you think it can't get messy, enter the final boss nobody wants to fight but everyone keeps voting for. Corruption. Not the oops, I made a mistake kind. The sign here and I'll pretend this never happened kind. It's not a glitch in the system. It is the system. You ever try to start a business here? It's like entering a boxing ring blindfolded while government officials bet on how long it takes you to give up. The Philippines ranks 95th in ease of doing business, which is a polite way of saying, good luck, sucker. And then there's the corruption index. 114th place globally. We're not even failing creatively anymore, just consistently, boringly corrupt. You know what's worse than corruption? Normalizing it. Because we don't just tolerate it, we adapt to it. Like when your friend says, you just have to know someone inside. Translation? The system's broken, but we've memorized the cheat codes. It's the same playbook every time. A permit that should take 3 days takes 3 months. Unless, of course, you know which palms to grease. And the grease isn't even subtle. It's like a public sauna in there. Now here's the real punch in the throat. Every peso pocketed by a corrupt official is one less peso for local innovation. You want local industries to thrive? Too bad. Because by the time your business idea survives the paperwork, fees, taxes, inspections, more fees, missing paperwork, and the official who forgot to show up, you've already lost to the foreign brand who flew in, greased the right gears, and skipped the line. Meanwhile, entrepreneurs with real ideas get buried under red tape so thick it should be a UNESCO heritage site. And the worst part? We've developed this weird, tragic superpower called resignation. Like, yeah, ganyan talaga. We don't expect honesty, we expect hustle. We expect shortcuts, scams, and side deals. We expect the rot. Which means real change doesn't even stand a chance. Because we've stopped being shocked. We're not outraged, we're exhausted. Not cynical, just emotionally bankrupt. We're not tired, we're numb. So here's a question that might hurt a little. What if the biggest reason we're not progressing is that deep down, we don't actually believe we deserve better anymore? Brutal? Yes. But maybe the truth is what finally makes us stop clapping for band-aids and start demanding surgery. And speaking of deep wounds, next we're slicing into why foreign corporations are the real landlords of this country, and how the Filipino dream is slowly becoming a franchise. You're gonna want to sit down for this one. So after all the malls, the debt, and the glorified circus we call bureaucracy, you'd think the Philippines is just one karaoke night away from imploding. But here's the kicker, it's not. Because underneath all that chaos, there's something dangerous brewing. Potential. And I don't mean the Hallmark card kind. I mean the kind of potential that makes the world nervous. Because when this country wakes up, it's game over for the doubters. Let's get one thing straight. We are not some hopeless case wrapped in a tropical sunset. We're a rising star. Just one that keeps hitting snooze on its own alarm. You ever meet someone who's clearly brilliant but keeps dating walking red flags and calling it growth? Yeah, that's us. Talented, resilient, but self-sabotaging like it's a national sport. But here's the real flinch moment. What if the only thing standing between us and a truly inclusive, prosperous economy is the fact that we've lowered the bar so much, we now trip over it daily? Don't look now, but the world's watching. Not because they care, but because they want to know when to invest, or when to evacuate. We're ranked among the fastest growing economies in Southeast Asia. But growth without structure is just chaotic puberty with GDP. Our young median age, 25.7, should be our greatest weapon. But we've treated our youth like expendable labor, not future leaders. You want transformation? Stop exporting your best minds like mangoes in peak season. We've got talent, natural resources, and a population that somehow still believes in miracles. That's not just optimism, that's economic rocket fuel. But potential without action is just daydreaming with better PR. Imagine a Formula One car, sleek, powerful, engine roaring. Now imagine it stuck in traffic behind a tricycle going 20 km/h. That's the Philippines. We don't need more foreign praise or hashtags about resilience. We need systems that work, leaders who care, and citizens who demand better. The kind of transformation we're talking about? It's not a glow-up. It's a full-blown metamorphosis. Think butterfly, not beauty filter. Ugly work. Painful shifts. Real change. So, can this country become a long-term powerhouse? Can we be more than just potential in a press release? Absolutely. But only if we're done being polite with our problems. Only if we finally decide that enough is enough. That we're not here to survive history. We're here to make it. And if that makes a few egos uncomfortable, good. Because growth always starts with discomfort. Now let me ask you something that should keep you up tonight. What if the next economic superpower isn't across the ocean, but already right here, asleep behind a desk labeled pending approval? You ready to wake it up? Because we're just getting started.